Ultimate Fantasy Locker Room fans, you're here with your boys. We're going into week 14 of the NFL season, week 1 of the fantasy football playoff season. What's going on, fellas? Good to see you.
It's been a good week, man. It's been a really good week.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I feel like we have to welcome our old dear friend Anton Davis back to the show.
It'd be kind of weird not to introduce him, being that he is on the screen behind us and live here as well.
Well, and he's definitely a looks upgrade for the show. And then next to me, another looks upgrade. We got rid of Phil. We kind of
Phil got rid of himself this week with the sickness.
Well, he's sick, and we're unsure because he seems like he's sick every time Anton comes back. So our goal now is to have exactly. Who's Phil? He's a little guy, so, you know.
I was going to say, because this mic is a little low, the seat's still warm. Let me flip the hat upside down.
You better make sure you're not sitting on him, actually.
He's under the chair.
Well, anyways, but we do want to welcome Zach back. And
yes, thank you for having me.
This is a little bit of a, I know that you're a big Eagles fan. And
yes.
Anton, having played for the Eagles, what does that feel like?
Yeah, I'm trying to play my cool. I've never really met or talked to anyone at the professional level like that. My friend, I was talking about this before we started recording, has met Latavius Murray like twice in Publix, but that's the closest secondary.
Secondary exposure.
Yeah. So this is cool.
You do seem a little bit nervous, a little bit like
jittery.
Yeah, almost like you're kind of like about to ask a girl out on a date.
No.
But
we're totally cool over here. We're cool. I do have I didn't say this before, but I have the Philly special tattooed on my arm. So we're all in.
Yeah, he is
do you have a play drawn out, or do you just have like the play call?
No, I got the X's and O's.
Yeah, he's got the. No, he's a true fan.
Hey, that's committed right there.
Thank you. Some people think it's a constellation. Some people are going, "Hey, that's the Philly special." I'm like, "Yeah, this is exactly why it's there." So
let me tell you what that was. In my opinion, and I've watched every Super Bowl that I've been alive for, that may be the greatest play of any Super Bowl that I've seen.
Well, the Chargers did it last week. People are still doing it. I'm sure Baker Mayfield has caught a touchdown pass because of that too.
Well, you'd have to be able to run quick and have somebody who could throw it to you. So I don't know if that's...
Are you saying like greatest drawn-up play or like greatest
just a
moment in...
actual play? Well, first of all, I love the fact that they did it against the Patriots.
Man, yeah.
I did. That made it a lot better.
And Tom Brady tried to catch a pass before that, too.
Yeah, and it didn't work. So.
Right before half, getting extra points. It was a ballsy call. It was great. Yeah. It was great.
So, Anton, I'm going to let you brag a little bit on your son. Tell us kind of what's up with Braden.
Yeah, Braden is doing really good. For those who don't know, he's a highly rated quarterback, committed to go to South Carolina and hopefully become their QB1. And now going to the state championship. We'll play that game this Saturday. And most recently today, he got named Gatorade Football Player of the Year for Delaware. So we're really proud of him. Best football player in the state, and he's certainly earned it.
Well, and he's also giving me a team to root for in the SEC. So the moment that he officially is up there, I'm going to buy my South Carolina Gamecock hat.
I can't wait to root for South Carolina next year. It's going to be fantastic. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to Braden. That's awesome. And what's really neat for me is even I'm in a lot of fantasy football circles.
Are you?
A couple. I'm in a couple fantasy football circles. But I was talking to a guy in one of the leagues that we share, Rocky, actually, and he's a huge Gamecock fan. And when I happened to mention Anton's name, he's like, "Shut up." He's like, "Braden, his son, he's coming to South Carolina." And then he got all worried because he knew that there was some shuffling of the head coach there and stuff. And he was like, "I'm so worried that he's going to decommit." Yeah. And it's just neat to see that people really follow top talent high school players and know where they're going to land in college and can't wait to see them come and make an impact. And it's pretty neat to see it firsthand.
That is pretty cool.
I think this is probably the highest rated QB that South Carolina has ever signed out of high school, I believe.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Because I was trying to go back and think of all the great quarterbacks in South Carolina, and there's actually been more than you realize. But I think that Braden might be the highest rated, highest scored. So that's exciting for the program. So
that's incredible, man. That's really cool.
So I noticed, I look over here and I notice that he's got like a book written. And so.
Hey, you have to be prepared for these things.
Yeah.
This is the whole episode right here. So.
Is it? Because it seems like it's really a lot of questions.
This seems like a one-on-one. This seems like
Anton, what is your favorite color?
There's a few questions on here, and then it's just me and Anton holding hands and a little drawing.
I think he's getting ready to swipe right on you, Anton. I think.
Yeah, I don't think Anton swipes.
It's weird, man.
Oh, we're
getting weird.
We're cool here. We're cool.
I don't think Anton swipes right. Well, do you have a question for Anton?
Yeah. So I'd like to first say thanks for playing for the Eagles. I know it's a fun, I guess you could say, fun place to play. We're very involved as fans. It's a great city to play for too. But when you were drafted in '91, I wasn't born, obviously, so I had to watch a little tape, do a little research. I know you went 8th overall. Which is amazing. You played 5 seasons in Philly, and there's a lot of cool things that went along with your draft. Since I had to watch the videos and Google it, you had a teammate that you played with at Tennessee go right before you, Charles McRae, correct?
That's correct.
And then he went to Tampa, and that's the first time that 2 players have gone back to back like that, playing at the same collegiate level and all that stuff. So that was pretty cool. I didn't know that. And it got me thinking about all the stuff that goes on when you get drafted. I've never been able to ask somebody, how does a draft work? When you get your money, or how much money do you want? How does that whole process work? And I saw that you allegedly were holding out for a little bit as well.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was necessary based on how everything kind of fell. And it was, I don't think it was a very long holdout, but it was necessary to try to at least recoup some of the money that actually we wound up both losing, and I can explain that.
Perfect. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, we'll talk about that. And then you also, so it was around $600,000. That was around the ballpark of what that signing bonus was for the contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that made me think, because when seeing these players get drafted now in my time and seeing these drafts happen and these holdouts, and even when they're in the league and they want new contracts and the money that these players are getting, and it made me think about what linemen are getting now that are being drafted recently. And same place that McRae went to, Tristan Wirfs got drafted by the Buccaneers, and he had a signing bonus for $9.3 million, which is an crazy. That's a spectrum right there over just 20-something years. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain about how your process went with holding out and your kind of opinion, or just seeing how the spectrum is with this money that they're getting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think it's a quite a bit to unpack. So let me kind of take it in sections. When I was at Tennessee, I had a lot of success, playing under Coach Fulmer, and he was the line coach at the time, and then he moved up to the offensive coordinator during the time that I was there. He later became the head coach after I left. But during that time, I was fortunate enough to become one of the most highly touted offensive linemen in the history of Tennessee, and had made all the All-American teams you could possibly make. At the time, there were more All-American teams designating people All-American than what, at the time, Peyton Manning came through the system. And so I had made all the All-American teams, had made all SEC first team 2 years in a row, had earned the Jacobs blocking trophy, which goes to the best blocker in the SEC. And I actually wound up getting the Heisman vote. A lot of people don't know that. Right. That's a good fun fact. And
yeah, that is
a question there for people. And I was really proud of all that. In fact, I remember doing a Sports Illustrated interview my senior year, and the reporter said, "How come we didn't talk to you last year?" Meaning my junior year, and I was just like, "I don't know, I was here." And so here's Charles. Charles McRae was the left tackle. I was the right tackle, and somehow, I guess you have to have an alpha dog. And then you have to have the other dog, and the alpha dog kind of carries the other dog. So I wound up having really big coattails, and Charles essentially rode those coattails, and we both kind of became the 2 best tackles as opposed to the best tackle. Gotcha. We became the best tackle tandem in college football. And because of that, when it came around time for draft, somehow Charles managed to kind of squeak above me based on needs, based on a lot of factors. I'm sure that we could talk about and unpack another time.
Right. Well, left tackle. Don't they normally tend to go with the left tackle over a right tackle?
It depends. It depends on. I mean, if you don't really have a precedent when you have two tackles. I don't know that it's ever happened since that you had two tackles on the same team looking to be drafted, especially in the first round. I would say in general terms, left tackles seem to be more valuable than right tackles. But the reality was I was the All-American. I was the best blocker. I should have been the first one taken. But I was.
Let him know. Yeah.
And so because of that, we knew immediately that I would get less money, because even though we say we don't want to slot players in the NFL and just simply give them, a slotted value of money the next year, supposedly those contracts are negotiated, Charles demanded a certain amount of money. And I think Charles demanded less money than I would have demanded had I gone first. And so because of that, I would automatically get less money than Charles. So here Charles is demanding less money and I'm getting less money than him.
Yeah, it's a domino.
And we all knew that wasn't right. We all knew that wasn't the right flow of things, given just what we had on paper. Right. And so I decided to hold out to get at least as much money as Charles, if not more, because I think if you have a good agent, I believe that I did. At the time, I had signed Marvin Demoff as my agent, who at the time, he and Lee Steinberg were the two top agents in the country, having all the quarterbacks at that time. And if you can get a good enough agent to figure out, hey, wait a minute, this guy's underpaid or undervalued based on his draft position, you can eventually make up those dollars you missed. And I think I was able to make up some of it. But I think by Charles getting drafted ahead of me, we both lost money. So that was unfortunate, but it happened. Like I said, that wound is still open because I'm a prideful person. I feel like I worked and earned it. I didn't get it, but that's neither here nor there. The other part about it is getting less money than what guys are getting now. That you have to remember the environment. During the time in the early 90s, we did not have a collective bargaining agreement at all. And so we were kind of operating almost essentially on a handshake of how we were going to do business, teams versus owners. And it was in 1993 that we finally got the first collectively bargained agreement. And then immediately, that was the first time players got free agency. So along with that free agency, values shot up almost triple overnight because now we had the ability for players to move around and go and choose the team they wanted to play for. And so that was so in year one, 1991, if you made $1 million, if that same player got drafted in 1993, you made $3 million. It was literally overnight, and that was also painful.
Yeah, wow.
Well, and I was doing a conversions of what your signing bonus was in 91 in today's value, it would be worth about $1.2 million. And Worth's got 9.3, so it shows you how crazy. Well, how crazy the NFL has gotten with the what the collective bargaining agreement has done and free agency and all that. The scale is ridiculous now. So now hopefully Braden.
You're exactly right.
Hopefully Braden will go into that. And maybe he'll tip his dad down. There should be some kind of finder's fee.
Yeah. A creator's fee.
And I'm just hoping I get to drive the car, man. I'll just drive the car.
There you go.
All right, well, let's go on to our first.
Issues. What's the issue? If there's issues, we gonna press them.
Yeah, come on now. Get ready. Yeah, I'm still a little uncomfortable.
Vocals.
Yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable with that still, but it's there. So why don't we talk about, Mark, why don't you talk about our first pressing issue?
So, I think we've kind of, hinted around at this the past couple of weeks, beating around the bush with Odell Beckham.
Okay,
right.
Odell Beckham Jr.
So I figured there were a couple of things that happened in this game this past week where you could make the case either way, whether or not he's back.
All right.
Is Odell Beckham back in time for the Rams to make their playoff run and hopefully, run deep in the playoffs and really be that consistent wide receiver alongside a Cooper Kupp that they need Odell Beckham to be?
Okay, so I think there's a couple things there because I think that there's two questions. Is Odell back?
Is he back?
And is he the wide receiver the Rams need? Yeah. Separate.
Well, if Odell's back, he would be the receiver that they need. But that's just it. Is he back? So I don't know.
I'll make the argument. Anton, do you got a thought on this? What do you think about OBJ?
I'm going to say he's on the way back.
Okay.
I'm not going to say he's 100% back physically or mentally, but I will tell you this. I love the fact that he's had to try to resuscitate himself, because to me, it seemed like a little thing, but he's essentially saying, I'm bringing myself back to life. I'm coming back. So the fact that, I mean, think about it. If you're up and walking around, you're back. But if you're having to resuscitate yourself, you're coming back to life. So I think he's on the way back.
So now you're kind of talking about his end zone celebration,
his revival dance, his self CPR.
So now talk about.
Exactly.
I'm a bit of a petty person. So remember, he played for the Browns. So I got some issues here. But how about you, Zach? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback off what you said, is he going to be the guy that the Rams need to make him? He has to be the guy. I mean,
Yes.
Robert Woods goes down. You need Odell Beckham. Like Antonio was saying, it's great to see it from him that he wants to be back. He's ready to be a Ram. LA is his home, really. I mean, he trains there in the off season.
He fits for sure better in
there.
LA than he did in Cleveland.
Yeah, I think the stats are getting there. He's getting more targets per game. Stafford and him need to continue to develop that relationship and that connection there. But I think he's on his way. Yeah,
And I'd like to believe that as well. And this game, it was funny because it showcased exactly what he's capable of in either direction, right? And I'm with Anton. I love the fact that he tried, that CPR dance, and he was reviving himself, and he's saying, I'm back, right? And it was great to see him get a touchdown, right? Because nothing's going to bring out your confidence more than scoring in the National Football League, right? As a wide receiver that everyone's been down on. So he resuscitates himself. But then you go and
he could have chosen. Sorry, he could have chosen any dance he wanted to, right? He could have done something silly. He could have done the row your boat or whatever. But it shows, one, that he's excited. It shows, two, that he's happy. And it shows, three, that he knows exactly where he is. He's down and coming back. So I really was happy about that.
Right. Which I love all of that, right? But I know Odell Beckham of old sold out for every catch. The dude went all out. Well, there was another throw that he was kind of fading towards the front pylon. Stafford threw a ball on him. Odell goes up, and he can feel the cornerback tracking him, and he short arms it. And it would have been a guaranteed second touchdown, but he was protecting himself. And to me, I was like, damn, man, he's so close to being back. But old Odell goes up and gets that.
So let me tell you my sour grapes here. I don't like how it ended in Cleveland. I don't like, honestly, apologize if you're this kind of dad, but I didn't like how his dad handled that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a name that I think Odell is. He is Deshaun Jackson. That's what he is. He's
Philly
fast.
legend.
He's fast. He's going to score some, but he's caught what? 5 passes in the Rams?
That's a bold comparison.
Yeah, 5 passes. I'm going to say this. He was always undersized. He went with his speed, and he went with the fact that he's sold out. Going forward, I think he's going to be a very good complementary back. I think, though, that OBJ needs a Cooper Kupp or a Robert Woods. He cannot be the number one anymore on his own.
I kind of have a hot take there. I don't even know if Odell is Deshaun Jackson. I mean, Deshaun Jackson has so many. I mean, Odell has the catch, right? But Djax has way more highlightable games, and he's still in the league doing his thing. Not as much, not as high volume, but he's there, and the injuries are now getting to Deshaun Jackson. The reason why he didn't lay up for that second touchdown catch, I don't think the old OBJ is going to come back in that sense because the injuries are there.
Yeah.
He has to play like a different player. I mean, I've never played professional football, but I think you have to protect yourself in a certain way. I mean, look at Carson Wentz. I mean, the dude doesn't dive for the end zone anymore like he used to.
Yeah. And so go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say I was going to take a little bit different take, and that's exactly where I was going to go, because you got to think of 2 other factors. Number one, he's a little bit older, a little bit wiser. Number 2, he's been hurt, and he doesn't want to get hurt again. Nobody does. But he also, if he's replacing the guy that is hurt, he's the last line of defense. So he probably knows in the back of his mind he can't afford to get hurt. Right. So unless that ball is out, unless that ball is dead on, or if the game is on the line, I don't agree with it necessarily, but I can understand why I would do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great point. Where do football players stand with that, Anton? Like, he comes back to the sideline after that, and you feel like maybe he could have caught that. Are you pissed at him, or are you understanding in the moment of all those other factors that could have contributed to him not coming down with that ball?
To be fair, I did not see the play, and I don't know the situation in the game. If the game was on the line and he didn't go for the ball, I would be very pissed.
Yeah, but I don't think it was. I think the game was in hand.
Yeah, no, it wasn't on the line at that point, but it was still a little early. I mean, it still could have, could have gone either direction.
To me, if you got the game in hand, he's the last line of defense, and we are, we're not worried about winning or losing. Just, hey, man, you got to start protecting yourself because if we make a playoff run, I need you for the playoff. So sadly, you kind of have to think about that sometimes. Yeah. Guys do it in the Pro Bowl all the time, right? They don't waste their bodies in games that don't mean anything. If the game was in hand, it didn't really mean anything. But
which is a good point.
There's also an expectation that you're always going to play at a high level and play at the level you're paid to play at. So,
yeah. Well, and sometimes you got to ask, could Stafford have put the ball somewhere better? Because I always look at. We asked, in the Ohio State versus Michigan game, Jackson Smith and the Jigba made this amazing catch and got throttled. And it was a bad throw. Had the quarterback led him in the right direction, he still scored. But had the quarterback led him in the right direction, he goes in untouched. Yeah. Instead, he takes a pretty massive hit. I mean, it's okay because Jackson is still a sophomore in college. But when you're in the league now 6-7 years, I do think you have to kind of look and try to protect yourself some.
Yeah, and I think the league might be a little bit more understanding nowadays too with that. I think we've come a long way, right? Because immediately you could compare that. Now this will be a double drop here, but you can compare that to it was reminiscent of the Ricky Waters short arm for what, right? Yeah. Who by the way, who Anton went a full round and a half ahead of in that 91 draft.
That's right.
Congrats, Anton.
I will tell you, now that one pissed me off.
All right, so let's go to our next topic is going to be surging teams. We've got some teams that are just killing it, and we've got some teams that are regressing. Yeah. And we're going to go around real quick because we're kind of short on time here, but we're going to talk about whether we think that they are we going to ask about playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, we have to, right? So, we're going into the playoff push, right? Everyone has to win games at this point. AFC is wide open. I think the only team that's been eliminated to this point are the Texans, if I'm not mistaken.
Texans and the Jags.
And the Jags are as of this last weekend. But a couple of surprise teams have been both fading and surging. And Miami is surging at the right time. Yep. Got 5 straight wins, right? We got Houston. Obviously we said that Houston's been eliminated. In Houston and the Jets and the Giants maybe aren't huge wins, but they come out and they beat Baltimore and they beat Carolina, and quite frankly, they're looking good at the right time.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go on record to say I think that they're surging in the right direction. I think Tua is starting to put it together. I like him as a quarterback. He's gotten used to not having 8 seconds to throw the ball like he did at Alabama, but he's coming out of it. But he has looked good. I like the combination of Waddle and Gesicki and just what they've got going. Gaskins is a competent back. And the biggest thing is I think they go into a late season bye, and they'll be able to really finesse a few more things. I think that they're trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I would agree. I think so.
Yeah, it's definitely an important time to be trending in the right direction, like you said. The media doesn't seem to be giving the Dolphins any love because when you see those AFC playoff run contention graphics, they're not even.
They're never mentioned.
They're not on the TV. I did want to point out that they have played some weak teams, yes, with that, and that's a little concerning. But for all the reasons that you said, they're streaming in the right direction is why they are. Tua has 100 plus passer rating in the last 4 games, and I think that's the story.
I think just it takes a little bit of confidence at the right time.
What do you think, Anton?
Yeah, Tua, it seems to be peaking at the right time, but for Tua, I feel like he really is finally getting to put some games on tape back-to-back and actually not come out of the game with an injury, whether it's his pinky or his baby toe, and so it's good. I'm not 100% sure it's a peak. I think it's finally getting comfortable and being able to actually play some games. But it's happening at the right time. Now, I think they're doing great. I'm not sure they can sustain it. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, well, and they do go into a tougher stretch because I think they have to go around here and play Buffalo again. They have to play the Patriots again. So it's going to end up if they make it, they will have earned it.
They're going to earn it. Yeah. And speaking of that, on the flip side in the NFC, you have the Washington football team who's surging at the right time. Now, I know we like them preseason on paper. They started off awful, but here they are, 4 straight wins and 4 formidable opponents. Tampa Bay, Carolina, Seattle, and Vegas.
Yeah.
4 straight wins at the right time. 6-6, two back of the Cowboys, but right in the thick of things for wild card contention and just hitting everything at the right time.
So what do you think?
I would like to see, again, it's going to be a tough road to hoe at the end, right, as it always is, especially when you get down to those interdivisional games. They're going to have to play Dallas again and a couple other, solid teams. But I think they're putting it together at the right time. They're winning gritty football games. And I don't know if you watched them at all, but Taylor Heineke looks like a kid that got to live out his dream, and he knows that maybe he's on borrowed time, and he just is making the best of it. Every win is fun for this dude.
Yeah, well, and I think they have got a great supporting cast. They've got Terry, Scary Terry. They've got Logan Thomas, who looked really good last week.
ACL, MCL, he just tore him.
Oh, no, he did?
Yeah.
Came back and tore him.
That sucks, especially for his story too. He was a good player to follow.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll take that out. But we've still got Gibson. What's the
Ricky Seals-Jones filled in for Logan Thomas admirably while he was out.
Yeah, and then we've got
so Curtis Samuel is coming off of injury, and they're working him back in. He's on pitch counts every game, and then DeAndre Carter's kind of impressed there, coming out of the woodwork as a dependable wide receiver.
I think that I don't know. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but they're a team that I like to watch.
Yeah. I hope they don't make the playoffs. I need the NFC East to kind of spread out so the Eagles can get in. But it's funny that you said gritty, because on my 5-page essay that I prepared for this episode, I put they're winning tough, gritty games. Yeah. They're finding their identity, and it's insane how this season is so long, and I feel like you can still find your identity as a team. Antonio Gibson is a story, I think. He's been getting a lot of production, and he's been panning out to where people have drafted him in fantasy leagues, kind of how Tua. I think Gibson is that factor for them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anton, how do you feel about the Washington football team?
All right, so Zach, don't hate me, man. But secretly, that's the team I'm rooting for. People always ask who I root for.
Oh, no.
I know it's blasphemy, but I like the quarterback. I like the coach. I like the team. I like the fact that they played scrappy. And not that I don't like the Eagles or don't watch the Eagles, but I really am kind of secretly rooting for this team to do well.
I'm getting the Philly special removed off my arm now. And thanks.
Okay, so
I said do well. I didn't say win.
let's go now on the other side. We've got 3 teams that have lost some games. Most notably is New Orleans.
Yeah.
5 straight losses.
5 straight. They started off 5-2. They were surprisingly good. The quarterback carousel continues. I think Taysom just injured himself again and is now out for an extended period of time.
Is
I
it
guess
back to Simeon?
Back to Simeon
back
once
to Simeon.
again. We don't know what Kamara's situation is, but after starting 5-2, they've dropped 5, and just they have no identity. They have none whatsoever.
Yeah,
I think they're done. Like, to me, I just think they're done right now. Michael Thomas never coming back.
Yeah.
They never kind of hit their stride. Kamara is an amazing running back, but he can't do it alone. And Simeon is a great person, I think. I'd love rooting for him, but I don't think he can get you to the playoffs.
Yeah, put a fork in those guys. They are done. I mean, it's all about, like you guys said, Kamara, but also his health too. Like, hasn't been the best. I mean, their defense is also getting old. Malcolm Jenkins was another, Eagles legend, is getting old too. Cameron Jordan's getting old. They have no quarterback. I just think there's nothing. If you're a Saints fan, I'm sorry.
It's back to the Aints.
Do you agree, Mark?
Yeah, no, I think they're done. I think they've been done for a little bit of time. I think this losing streak is indicative of that.
Yeah.
How about you, Anton? Do you think they've got a pulse still, or you think they're done?
You know what? Believe it or not, and Zach, this was probably before you were born, but this has actually happened before. History is repeating itself.
Oh,
I'll never forget as long as I live. 1994, we're 7-2 at the Eagles, and I'm literally sitting in a locker room. And a player next to me said, "Man, wouldn't it be something if we went 7-9?" And we all just kind of laughed. And,
oh my gosh, he jinxed it.
We ended up 7-9.
Oh my gosh! It's amazing how you can kind of spiral toward greatness, or also spiral out of control pretty quickly.
Did he get the blame for that? By the way, I mean, there's a lot that goes into losing a game in the NFL, but did he get it after every game?
And more importantly, were you able to?
He only said it to me, and we just kind of chuckled about it. Like, there's no way on earth we're going to go anything. We're going to the playoffs. It's a done deal. And it just kept piling on, and we literally wound it up. In fact, at that time, the worst team in the league was Cincinnati. Our last game we lost to Cincinnati too. So it was horrible.
Were you ever
And
able?
then that was Renzo last year.
Were you ever able to link him to betting on the team?
No. Nope.
All right. So
Okay.
I never pulled the Pete Rose. All right, that's good at least.
So now we have two teams that have lost 2 games in a row, and I feel different about both of them. So we've got Minnesota that's lost 2, and we've got Carolina that lost 2. And it was only a few weeks ago that we were wondering if Carolina could actually make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I feel Carolina is done. I feel like CMC going down.
Yeah.
I like Chuba, but he's not CMC. I don't know that they have an answer. And I think, honestly, there's rumors that they might lose their coach also to a college
Going
program.
back. Yeah.
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 So
They've lost not only their coach, or they might lose their coach, but Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator, is gone too.
Well, they fired him.
Yeah,
And,
he's out.
and Joe Brady had,
Really?
he's one of the greatest college offenses ever. I mean, I'm hoping Ohio State hires him. So
Talk about going from the White House to the poop house. I mean, you go from LSU to there to fired. That's tough.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they're done too, I think.
Actually, I feel the same about both of these teams. I think they're both trending in the wrong direction at, unfortunately, the wrong time to trend in the wrong direction. We saw that immediate spark with Cam, the rekindling with Cam coming back to Carolina, but then Carolina just, they lost it immediately and they fell right back into
I told you that was
being
a mirage.
suspect. And then Minnesota, that defense is not what it used to be in Minnesota. They are forced, absolutely forced to put points on the board. And you have Dalvin Cook go down for an extended period of time. So apparently a torn labrum. He might be out for the rest of the season. You just had Thielen go down this past week as well. This offense, I think, it's in a world of hurt. And I don't think either one of these teams end up making the playoffs.
I mean, you mentioned Thielen, and I'm going to save my song for later, but we sing whenever
Yeah, I'll
we
save it
mention
too.
Adam Thielen.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you completely about both these teams. And also Mike Zimmer could be out too. Like there's a lot of rumors because the rumors were there and then they stopped and then they lost to the Lions and now they're back on.
I mean, the Lions for crying out loud.
Yeah, and
The Lions were due. The Lions were due.
They were.
They played a lot of team stuff.
They
but-
were.
Right.
They face a tough schedule too for the Vikings. I'll just say that.
But if you let the Lions put up 30-some points on you, I mean, it's the Lions. What are they? They've scored like 30 all season, and then they go and they absolutely just put it on. They hang it on them.
All right, so our next topic we're going to talk about real quick is, this is our first season where they've extended the games. And so it's kind of messed it up, and there's a whole bunch of fantasy leagues that didn't adjust. And normally they wait for the playoffs to start to after the bye weeks, but there's a lot of leagues that are starting playoffs this week, and there's some heavy hitting. You got the Colts, you've got the Dolphins, Philadelphia, and New England that are all on byes. And for me, in one of my leagues, I've got JTT, and I am desperate to try to find a running back to replace him, and there's no replacing
Well,
him.
good luck, because you're not finding any kind of running back with that caliber on the waiver wire at this point.
No.
If you're absolutely desperate, Adrian Peterson is probably out there.
I'm not
but
that
I mean,
desperate.
that is supremely desperate. With a lot of the leagues, and it happened with a lot of the championship leagues, right? Because in order to restructure those ones that are a lot of money, that involve a lot of people, it would take a lot to reformat those to keep your clients happy, right? So they've kind of just kept the format as is and rolled with it, and now we're seeing what happens, right? So now you're into your first week of the fantasy football playoffs, and most notably is Jonathan Taylor, right?
Yeah, but there's a ton more.
There's Jalen Hurts. These are a couple of guys that your team rode to the playoffs, and
Dallas
here you
Goddard, who's been on fire lately.
yeah, and here you are, first week of the playoffs, and now you are forced. I have a team that's actually in contention for big money that I have to sit Taylor, Waddle, and Miles Sanders this week. And it's tough. I mean, I have some fill-ins, but I'm not going to get that kind of production. So it goes back to the question that I wanted to bring up with this, being fantasy football centered show, is this all stems back to the draft, right? So Jonathan Taylor, who's obviously a top 6 pick and has showed arguably should have probably been taken 1 or 2 overall at this point, seeing the productivity that he's had. How do you game plan for this during drafts? Do you try to avoid guys like that and have guys that are going to get you into the playoffs but be available for that bye week? Or do you draft a guy like Jonathan Taylor and then kind of curtail your middle rounds to make sure that you have somebody that's also productive that can come in off of the bench, hopefully getting by week 1 in the playoffs and into your championship? How would you guys approach that?
Yeah, that's killed me too many times in the past when it comes to playoffs for these exact reasons. I mean, I mention Dalvin Cook all the time. Like, having a handcuff like Mattinson is amazing because you can almost plug him in as if he is Cook. Yeah. But you have the CMCs of the world where Chuba Hubbard isn't what CMC is, and you are kind of screwed. I don't know if there ever is really like a formula.
I'm kind of thinking that some of the leagues will adjust next year and realize, okay, we're going to have to push our playoffs back. Yeah. But in one of our leagues that I'm in with Anton, I beat him this week because he had some notable players on buys. Now, I'll take that victory. But, he's team legendary, and he was killing it. And
I still think you guys have not let me in on all the rules because I suck at picking up players. I've been playing with the same running back. Like, I literally had a player with no points this week, and I'm like, they're not telling me all the rules. So I'm sucking right now, but I'm taking my lumps and I'm learning.
No, but you're like 8-3, so like I got lucky to win. But next time you're in town, I'll kind of show you how it works. So.
Oh man!
All right.
After you take all my money.
Yeah. Right.
All right, that brings us right into...
Never not be creepy.
That is pretty creepy. I also like the remix version that you did there. You hit the button 15 times before it finally came on.
It wasn't accepting my gentle push.
So going right from the bye weeks killing you to somebody else that you draft high that just absolutely crushed your dreams in the fantasy football playoffs this past week, and that is Mr. Adam Thielen. Goes down after 1 reception for 0 yards with a high ankle sprain. And as we all know, that high ankle sprain will get you. That's what Kamara is suffering from, and he's been out the last 3 to 4 weeks. Now Thielen, another guy that you drafted, fringe wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, that has undoubtedly gotten you into the playoffs, is now shut down. What do you do?
I mean, you sing the song. I don't know if you know this or not, but we sing "Hooked on a Feeling" every time that we mention. Yeah, normally
I am believing.
There we go. Yeah. I don't think you replace somebody like this late in the season. Again, you mentioned the running backs. There's not a lot of great receivers left too. I mean, you might get lucky with maybe a tight end that you can play in the wide receiver spot that maybe is still on the board. If your league isn't high in rookies, Freiermouth has been just a machine lately.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, you're out of luck.
Yeah, and I mean, you're not happy doing this, but he's one that actually has an immediate replacement. But again, you're not comfortable playing this guy, and that's KJ Osborne, who's available in like 70-some% of leagues on the waiver wire at this point. You're not happy about it. You're not comfortable because he can throw up an absolute goose egg, or he could get Adam Thielen production, and you don't know. And it's so hard to roll that die in the playoffs. Yeah. You almost want to stick with somebody that you have on your bench that you're like, I guess I'll play him this week instead of rolling the dice on Osborne, and then Osborne blows up for 3 touchdowns. But Osborne is a guy that you can probably get off the waiver wire. And real quick, 3 receivers that I like this week that if you need somebody and you need them fast, Osborne, Gage, Amon-Ra St. Brown, probably all available on your waiver wire.
So, Anton, you got to call me, and I can walk you to the waiver. So, hey, Anton, before we end this segment, and then we're going to let you go spend some time with your wife and your kids. What did you think of the Alabama-Georgia game? And tell me who you think is going to win the national championship.
Wow, I'm sorry, guys. I just am not a believer. I don't know what happened with Georgia. People say that, Alabama just has their number. I don't know that I believe in that. But here's how I think about it. Here's how I like to think about it. Georgia knows that they probably wouldn't drop out if they lost that game. They're still in it. It's like the NFL. If you're in the playoffs, you're in. You got a shot. I have to believe that Georgia has to play better the next time they play. I believe that Georgia could have come after Young a lot more. Like you said earlier, when guys have a long time to throw, it's hard for me to believe that Bryce Young is as good as he is, and you can't argue it, right? It's on film. We've all seen it. The kid has played well. But that being said, he has a lot of people around him, and you see what happened with Tua when he doesn't have that same type of feel around him. So they're good. Alabama's good. Georgia's good. I still believe in Georgia. I think, if they meet again, it might be a different story.
So let me ask you a question, because what I noticed is you had a 5-star quarterback in Love, right? Bryce Young.
Yeah.
And then Georgia had 2 5-star quarterbacks, but they were both on the bench. So they've got a month to prepare for the national championship. They got 2 5-star quarterbacks. Stedman, listen, gutsy kid, but he's probably got a future as an investment banker with that name.
Right.
Are they tempted to dust off one of those 5-stars and give him a month of pure practice to get ready for the next game?
No question about it. It's you know what? To me, Georgia short-armed the catch in that game. Right?
Yeah.
Look, the game was on the line, obviously, and yes, you want to be an SEC champion, but you probably, if you had the choice, you'd rather be a national champion. I don't believe a defense has been that dominating, all of a sudden turns to crap in one game. And Alabama has shown, Florida, gave Alabama the dickens. So
yeah.
It's hard for me to believe that Georgia just all of a sudden forgot how to play. This thing is almost like a chess match, and I'm telling you, they take a national championship 10 times over an SEC championship. And so I think it'll be a different story next time they face each other.
Do you give Michigan or Cincinnati any chance?
I'm glad Cincinnati gets to play Alabama. I think that'll finally shut them up. And then I'm not sure Michigan has gotten there quite yet. Rocky, I took it easy. I didn't say a word this time about the game. I was very
waiting.
respectful.
I was waiting for it.
But I was glad. Look, for personal reasons, I was glad to see Ohio State lose. It wasn't because of you. And now I want to see Michigan get throttled. Because I really do want to see that rematch. I know some people don't. I want to see that rematch because I refuse to believe that Georgia's that bad. And quite frankly, I refuse to believe Bryce Young is that good.
Yeah. Well, and it's sad that Bryce Young won the Heisman probably on that game. And I don't know that he's that guy either.
Yeah. I mean, there's other players out there that are going to get overlooked because they don't have the same platform or stage, and they don't have the same supporting cast. But there's some other players out there that are really, really, really killing it, and I'm not 100% sure I'm sold on Bryce Young. And I was the same way with Tua, and we saw what happened with Tua when he came into the league. He's finally put together 5 games, and we're all shocked.
Yeah. Is there a quarterback in college that you really like right now?
I like Pickett. I don't like the fake slide thing he tried to pull this week. I think it's really kind of snubbing the rule that protects quarterbacks, but I really like him as an overall player. The guy's really good, and he's probably going to get overlooked because he's not at Alabama.
Awesome.
Well, Antone, thank you for joining us on the show, and hopefully we'll get you every week, and we'll get Phil less. More Antone, less Phil is always a good thing.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Phil?
Yeah.
Well, we're not sure if he's being sat on, but we'll see.
Yeah, thank you, Antone. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you guys for having me, man. A lot of fun.
Yeah, man,
Thanks.
always.
That
was fun seeing our good friend Antone,
Yeah,
man. That was good seeing him. He looks great. Man.
He does look good. He's lost some weight.
You can definitely tell. I mean,
gotta
he's
fix
looking
that graphic.
sleeker.
You got to fix the graphic now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we fixed it, then we'd have to make Phil less Asian. So we kind of like that. I think we're sticking with this.
It was good seeing him. But that one blasphemous comment regarding Alabama and Florida nearly sticking it to him, does he forget? He must forget that Florida came back to beat the juggernaut that is Samford with an M. Did he forget that?
That's a good point.
And highlighted probably what kind of started us off with our ass of the week, Mr. Dan Mullen.
Yeah. So why don't we get to our next ass of the week?
I don't see a more fitting time.
Ass of the week.
That guy's an asshole.
All right. So who wants to announce this one? I think Phil actually picked this guy.
I think Phil did.
Yeah. So who wants? You guys, Zach, you want to mention who it is?
Yeah, substitute Phil. I'll take it. Yeah. So at first I thought it was a different Kelly.
Yes.
I thought it was Chip Kelly.
And you were
Who was
okay with
also
that.
deserved of
which
ass of the week.
deserves more than multiple asses of the week.
Yeah.
But Brian Kelly, for those that don't know, recently just left Notre Dame and is now at the Louisiana State University, LSU, and he had a pretty funny and very cringe little speech to the basketball team.
Yeah. So let's
Yes, he
let's
did.
listen.
Thank you. Well, this is a great way to get started, and I haven't even won all my games yet.
This guy.
Humble. Very humble.
It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family. And we are so excited to be in the great state of Louisiana, but more importantly, to be with
Them Tigers.
great fans and to be part of what is going to be an incredible ride here at Louisiana State University.
Rocky, indulge me. Where is our friend Brian Kelly from?
Yeah, if I'm correct in my Googling, he was born up north in New Hampshire, which is
Far from a southern accent,
You should
mind
have
you.
played the Cotton Eye Joe out of there, sidestep a little bit.
yeah. I think that there's a little pandering for sure, and I don't know. He caught a southern accent really quick.
Man, I guess he plays the part at Notre Dame. He, a prestigious school. He spoke very eloquently. Family. Yeah, I mean, you almost thought there was an extra letter in that word, and then he shortens it to where there's like 3 letters in the word family.
I don't know about
Tiger family.
I don't know about you guys, but I think he's insincere.
You think?
Yeah, you can tell this was very, obviously he prepped for this little speech, and this is the first time, the media has been giving him the attention for LSU and being out of Notre Dame, but, you can tell, and I even I haven't won all my games yet, with the little kind of, shade to leaving Notre Dame before they win all their games. And
Well, and the terrible thing is he left Notre Dame while they still had an opportunity possibly to make it into the national championship.
That would have been funny. And
I don't know how he would have expected his team to play for him. I don't know if you guys heard how he told his players, but he basically had to send them a text because it got leaked to the press, is what he says. But I think that there's a bunch of Notre Dame fans that are shocked. I don't think they've ever been left for another school.
No, I don't think anyone's ever left Notre Dame.
They haven't been broken up with.
Yeah, and this is it. This is they're right now, they're in their rooms listening to emo songs and crying.
They're listening to "Good for You" by Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are, and they are crying. So
it's a shame to see, man.
I think it's a well-deserved ass of the week.
Most certainly.
Yeah.
A prestigious school like that with a history. Lou Holtz, one of the best that had ever done it, during his time. You're following up that legacy, and you leave. It's almost like I know he's going to the SEC, but in terms of their ranking in the SEC, I see it as like a lateral move because
at best
you're not leaving for an annual contender.
Notre Dame has an easier path to the national championship most years than LSU.
No, congratulations, Brian Kelly. You are this week's ass of the week.
Yeah. So let's go right into our fantasy games because this show's going along, and we do want people to watch and not fall asleep after.
We're not bad. We're at 50 minutes, and we're monetized now. Oh, we forgot to mention this. Thank you, viewers.
Yeah.
We've surpassed our. We can say viewers with an S now. That's always a good thing.
Please enjoy the Sephora ad that is probably scrolling over us right now, and we're okay with that.
Yeah.
It's Christmas. You got to buy your wife or your boyfriend. I mean, it's
To make up
2021
for all the fantasy football that you watch. Maybe you know what says fantasy football more than a nice mascara for the wife.
I'm sure Antone probably had to put some makeup on with the ring light that he had on. So,
yeah. I mean, I think you waited to after he got off the show.
You're making a fantastic impression, my friend.
Stop it.
All right. So let's talk about our first game. We've got San Francisco at Cincinnati. And let me tell you what, you mentioned it before. This is a tough slate of games. for
Seriously.
a pick. Like, if you've got money to bet, don't bet this week.
Yeah.
Save and double bet next week.
Maybe it's good that Florida, backed off on the legalization of sports gambling because
you're about to lose it.
I would have lost money this week anyways.
So what do we think? I mean, who are we starting in these games? And I guess we don't have to talk about who's going to win the game, but fantasy relevant players in this.
So, obviously San Fran, and again, we're going in the first week of playoffs in a lot of leagues. Debo going down hurts you, right? Yeah. But Debo vowed that he's coming back. He's only going to miss one game, and he'll be back for your fantasy championship games. Debo going down, hurt. Was it last week that he went out, or was it this week that this week that he missed?
He missed this week. Yeah.
So he could possibly be back for Cincinnati, which would be fantastic. It would be great timing.
Yeah. If he's back, you start him.
Yeah, because you were looking for Ayuk to kind of step in that role, and Ayuk, man, Shanahan hates Ayuk for crying out loud. I don't know why. The guy, he's dynamic. But they went and they rode the running backs, and Elijah Mitchell looked fantastic. Yep. George Kittle put up
you got to start
crazy
Kittle.
Numbers. Yep. So going into this week, you have to start Kittle. You have to start Elijah Mitchell. And then on the Cincinnati side of the ball, obviously you rode Joe Mixon this far. You're riding him in the fantasy playoffs too.
Thankfully, at the end of last week, he kind of saved it because he looked pretty rough for the first half of the game.
Yeah, he did. And the touchdown helped. Yeah.
What do you think about Joe Burrows?
Joe Burrow was a good guy to draft really late in leagues this year. I don't think he's been
he hasn't been stellar.
Yeah, 16 points, very low ceiling kind of guy, but I think an unsung hero of the Cincy offense recently, and the guy that I have personally drafted in a lot of leagues is T. Higgins.
Yes.
That dude is taking off. I made a bad judgment and benched him this week, and I am not. He is a set and forget player until he proves me otherwise. He's had 2 games with over 100 yards receiving, and then 23 points.
I think what defenses are doing is they're doing what New England does. They queue on the best, so they're starting to double Jamar. They're not letting it get out. I think they learned something. Cleveland, and this is kind of weird to say, has looked terrible lately, but they blew out the Bengals, and they were the first team to double Jamar. And I think teams kind of picked up on that, and I think T. Higgins is one hell of a receiver.
And I tell you what, if you're watching any of the games, T. Higgins looks uncoverable.
He's a man.
I watched so many in every kind of route too. Out routes, seam routes.
Yeah. No, he's
flying down the field. He is just getting open, and he looks fantastic. And that's what Burrow needs, man. Because you can't just depend on Chase. Yeah. And then you open up that air, and Joe Mixon is going to make you pay.
Yep.
So this will be a fun fantasy impact game to watch.
Okay, let's go next one. We talked about this team already, but Minnesota and Pittsburgh. Surprisingly, Big Ben looked serviceable last week against the Ravens. I'm not starting him, but I am starting Najee Harris every week right now. I think you kind of have to do it.
Deontay Johnson, as frustrating as he is, because he dropped a 50-yard short touchdown bomb that would have padded your stats even more.
But he still went over 100 yards. And
with a touchdown.
I think you got to start him as much as I like Claypool.
And like I said, Minnesota's defense isn't looking good. I would fire everybody up. Claypool.
Well, and I'm going to say I drafted Freiermuth, and he has been a start. Like, I've started him over tight ends I drafted higher. He seems to find the end zone, which is kind of what he was known for coming out of college. I think he's worth the start here. Minnesota does not do well against tight ends.
Yeah. Speaking of Minnesota, for for leagues where you have maybe a Jalen Hurts or somebody that you need to kind of find off the waiver wire, and he probably isn't even on the waiver wire, but Kirk Cousins is a top 10 fantasy quarterback.
Yes.
He's had 2+ touchdowns since, the dawn of time this year, basically, and he's a good guy to plug in if you can.
And he is a guy that I think you're right. He's not going to be in a deep league, but in a lot of leagues, he still might be on the waiver. Anybody else in Minnesota? We're talking about Jefferson, of course.
Yeah, Mattinson, you have to start.
Yeah, Madison looked great. It looked like he was interchangeable with, now it was against the Lions, but he looked interchangeable with Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, that Pittsburgh defense has been a little suspect. They're starting to round out a little bit, I think. T.J. Watt being back and being healthy, he looked pretty solid last week. But, I think he still can get some scoring out of these guys. And I think Pittsburgh's going to put up a big number on Minnesota, so Minnesota's going to have to
I think what he said is before the show is correct. I don't know. I think Tomlin is, in my opinion, the second best coach in the league. Yeah. He gets more with nothing than almost any other coach in the league. Yeah. They have no offensive line. They still somehow find a way to score.
Yeah, and I love his coaching style too. And he, even when you watch him, when you watch the games, watch him on the sideline, that's a dude that just commands respect.
Yeah,
and you can tell like his teams buy in. A lot of that I think is Big Ben's energy transcends. Because Big Ben has been under Tomlin for 18 years now or whatever it's been, and I think Ben showing the leadership and buying into Tomlin for as long as they've been together. Now, I don't know if Tomlin's been there the whole time that Ben's been there.
I think so.
But I think that really shows, and I hope after Ben leaves that it continues with the next quarterback. And I really hope that everyone buys into Tomlin because I love Tomlin.
Yeah, they've got deep roots over there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, let's go to the Giants versus the Chargers. This is kind of a surprising. I think they're giving the Giants a lot of points, and I think the Chargers have kind of been up and down. But I think they're betting on the fact that Glennon is not going to be able to move the Giants, and I think it affects everybody on that side of the ball. So who do you start with the Giants?
Yeah, who do you like there, Zach, when you highlighted this? You had to have been thinking Charger heavy here, right?
It depends. Yeah, definitely Chargers heavy. I would. For the Giants, though, definitely Mike Glenn's a big factor. I think Kenny Golladay maybe is a start if you need him, and maybe a flex position because he's been getting his targets. With Kitchens, they've been kind of giving him the ball. They paid him so much money, they got to give it to him some way or another. Devontae Booker is also a decent handcuff. He had like 9 points when Saquon had 13, and Saquon's quote-unquote healthy again. But, yeah, huge Chargers here. Keenan Allen, wide receiver 1, top 10 fantasy wide receiver, probably going forward. Justin Jackson is someone that you want to keep an eye on if Austin Eckler does not play because he's been questionable, so you don't know with him. But, yeah, Chargers, I think, all the way here.
Well, I think questionable every week.
And then I think Mike Williams had a really he didn't get a touchdown, but he was over, I think, 100 yards.
Yeah,
so
he hit double digits.
He's a guy that you gotta start if you got him. So.
Yeah, and if you want to go a little bit deeper, too, if you're strapped, if these Week 14 buys are killing you. Darius Slayton got 7 looks last week. He only brought down 2. Mike Glennon, the quarterback, you're not expecting a whole lot. But, if you have to, I think Slayton's going to fill in decently. I think Golladay is a go, but you have Tony still, I think, on the shelf. Shepard's still on the shelf.
Yeah.
So it was surprising to see Slayton get those looks that he used to get a lot last year. So 7 looks last week. If you have to, you might need to plug him in somewhere, and it could potentially pan out against the Chargers here.
All right, next game is Seattle versus Houston. This is a hard one to choose. Your gut says Seattle's going to throttle them, but they've looked like crap.
Yeah. Last week they looked like finally like they had a little bit of an identity.
Yeah, looked a little bit better, but they still seem to they really can't. I think they're missing Chris Carson a lot more than they thought they would.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And they really are trying to find that identity in the backfield. Travis Homer ripped off that 75-yard touchdown run and then followed it up with 8 carries for 76 yards or something.
Yeah, he probably got queued for 2 seconds after that and then got unqueued.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great call right there. And you don't know what you're getting in the backfield there. Rashad Penny had quite a few touches. 7 or 8 fantasy points because he had a couple of receptions. Travis Homer, DJ Dallas. It's a shit shoot there. But, the wide receivers finally, Metcalf has come around with some targets. He'd been not targeted for a couple of weeks there. And look, you were scared. You're like, oh, God, it's my wide receiver 1. And here he is not getting looks. And then Lockett come around. So I think, I'm hopeful for those guys this week against this Houston secondary.
Yeah, and I think I think most of us would pick the Seahawks to win over Houston. But I think you do have to start DK. You have to start Tyler. I'm a little bit kind of iffy on Russ. He's up and down. I don't feel comfortable.
He's been cooking raw food recently. You want to check for salmonella if you've been eating his food. I just remembered when we were talking about Monday Night Miracles a few weeks ago, and I needed Terry McLaurin to get me 25 points, and he didn't. And you needed DK to have a terrible game, and he got 0 points?
Yeah,
did you win that game?
I won that game.
That was an incredible beat right there for the other guy.
Yeah, it's been in that league. It's been a roller coaster because I just lost to probably the worst team in the league, and I'm 8-3 just kind of ridiculous.
I did the same thing there. Shout out Jackson. He was 0-11 and had probably like the most points allowed and getting super unlucky, and I gave him his first win, and then that catapulted to 2 in a row. So
there you go.
You're welcome, Jackson.
Anybody else that you guys like on either of these two teams? Cooks has been kind of up and down.
Yeah.
Tyrod. I started him. I started him in a flex position. He got me 0 points.
Yeah, 1.5 or something like that. Because didn't he got hurt again?
Got hurt, and he also got some interceptions.
Yeah.
So
you're not happy if you have to start anybody on Houston, but we said earlier that you're not finding any running backs on the waiver wire. David Johnson.
I was going to say that.
Potentially is on the waiver wire there, and sorry, I didn't mean to beat you to it, but David Johnson is potentially there, and if you have to,
he's a starting running back.
Yeah,
and that's hard to find.
Yeah, I was scrolling the depths of the waiver wires the other day, and I actually like David Johnson. I think if you have him and you need him, you could start him. Like there's argument there.
I mean, he's got more value than he's being allowed to show in Houston right now. I mean, you don't go from where he was a couple of years ago to this. He's got some talent still.
Especially with the money that they gave him, too. We're always saying follow the money, but apparently they didn't get the memo in Houston.
All right, the last game we're going to talk about is KC Las Vegas. Las Vegas is actually a big underdog here. KC has looked better recently. What's your take? Is it the usual suspects?
I think so. I mean, the biggest news I think for this game is that Kenyon Drake broke his ankle. So Josh Jacobs is obviously a start for you, but might even have more production because of that. Some of those catches are going to be going to somebody else. I got the Chiefs defense maybe because of injuries like that. You could maybe, and the reason why the Chiefs are winning games is kind of because of their defense.
Yeah,
so
the defense has kind of got back.
Check that out too.
Yeah, but Kansas City's probably going to put some points on the board because it looks like that offense is starting to click a little bit more. So somewhat, Vegas is going to have to keep up.
Although Tyreek and Travis both had pretty subpar games last week.
Yeah, they've been on a sub. I almost feel like this is the rope-a-dope with Kansas City, right? Just because we know what they're capable of in the past, and you're wondering now that the defense is rounding into form. Is that offense going to round into form too? And is this a mirage?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's been because I have Tyreek and Travis on several of my teams, and it was kind of just you always kind of pencil in 30 points between the two of them. Yeah. 1 week one would go off, 1 week one would go off, but you always knew you were going to get production. But the last couple of weeks has been kind of like just hit or miss.
Yeah, it's not given anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you go into that game 15 points down. You have either Kelsey or Tyreek, you're like, I got this in the bag. Yeah. It was never a question. Now it's a question.
Yeah. Yep. It's kind of a scary situation.
All these games that I picked were kind of, I try to pick niche games, because you kind of know who you're starting at this point with how the season is with a lot of your leagues. But I kind of like Bryan Edwards if you need a wide receiver. He's the only one there, really. I mean, he's young. He's getting the most targets.
Well, he's another guy like Ayuk. There's talent there.
Yeah, there is.
I can't figure out why they haven't quite figured out how to use him. He's
He's like a DK Metcalf light a little bit.
Yeah. But all right, that's it. So let's go on to our next section, and this is my favorite. It worked. Tis the season! Ho, 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 ho! All right, so the topic for this Tis the Season is top 3 Christmas desserts.
You're upgrading your Microsoft PowerPoint training.
Yeah, right. It's amazing what an immigrant from Italy can do.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like I'm empowered here. So, so we're going to count down from third favorite to first.
Okay.
And Mark, do you want to go first?
Sure. All 3 of mine are cookies, man. I love Christmas time because the cookies. It's just with the kids. I have 3 little ones. That's what we do throughout the entire season is we bake cookies pretty routinely. And I'll tell you my 3 favorite, and we'll start with the third. Are we doing all 3 at once, or are we going to go around?
Just do one at a time.
All right, so out of all of them, my third favorite are the peanut butter cookies. We do fantastic peanut butter
ones
cookies.
With the little chocolate Hershey's kiss in the middle?
No, we don't do those, but we do them 2 different ways. We do a soft batch, and we also do one where they're nice and crunchy, and they're great when you dunk them in milk. And it just...
Yeah, right now I want a cookie right now.
Are we soft cookie guys or hard cookie? Like, what do we...
I can go either way. I'm non-discriminatory when it comes to cookies, and that's the reason why we do the peanut butter both ways. We do it soft and hard.
You got to get milk.
Yeah. You have to get milk.
And what's amazing to me is and now I want a cookie. Like, I mean, I don't know about you,
I'm
but
starving.
like,
I'm
right now
hungry,
I'm like, peanut butter cookie.
And you can taste it. You're like,
which are not my favorite, but now I kind of want one.
You might get more hungry because my 3 are like actual foods. And for some reason, like my mom flipped the switch, and now when I go home for Christmas, she makes all this crazy food for Christmas. We never used to be like that. And the third of my list is my mom makes a great eggs Benedict.
Oh, look at this. See? Okay, there we go. So this is not a dessert, but it still is like a favorite.
I had to put it on there.
No, I get that because I got one that's, I don't know that most people will think it's a dessert, but to me it's like it
with
deserves,
the hollandaise sauce, and it's just, it can be sweet and yeah.
I love it. So okay, so my number 3 is my mom and now my daughter. She got the recipe from my mom, and they're called Kalachis, and they're little Polish cookies. And they're like a cream cheese dough wrapped around a fruit filling, and it can be date, it can be raspberry, whatever, but they kind of like melt in your mouth. Then, they're fantastic. So every year my daughter now makes about 30 dozen, and then the rest of December we eat them like,
we're gonna have to cookie swap.
Yeah,
I think, this year. I'm all about the cookies, man.
Very, very good. So that's my number 3 cookie.
What are they called?
Well, we call them Kalachis, but they're literally like a Polish neighbor in our, because we grew up in a part of Cleveland where it was all immigrants, and so our Polish neighbor taught my mom to make them, and they are Polish Slovakia, I think, is the part of the world they come from. They're fantastic. So I'll bring some in.
That's a great story too. Swapping recipes back in the day, like tradition, especially in an area where you guys said everyone moved over.
Yeah, that's great.
Like, that's a cool story, man.
All right, Mark, give us your number 2.
My number 2 cookie are Snickerdoodles.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I love a good Snickerdoodle.
Yeah.
And we have a fantastic recipe. Not any kind of story like that. Ours was found on the internet and then doctored a little bit.
Okay, that works too.
But man, a Snickerdoodle. This is the only time of year that I'll eat Snickerdoodles. Like I don't eat them like throughout the rest of the year, and they like scream Christmas to me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. There's every year we take out the Christmas decorations for my apartment, and then there's the one Snickerdoodle candle. That's like on its third leg because it's getting up for like the 3rd year. I forget Snickerdoodles are a cookie until this time of year.
Oh man! All right, so Zach, what about you? What's your number 2?
I'm going with a theme of like is breakfast, but this is more of a dessert than eggs Benedict, but crepes. My mom makes good crepes, like piles of crepes, and we put whatever you want, like jelly, cream cheese. You can do like a dessert one with peanut butter and whipped cream. Oh my gosh, dude!
That sounds good right there.
It's good.
My aunt. Her husband that she married, my uncle, is a Swedish gentleman, and that dude made the best crepes.
Crepes are the best.
He would whip them up so fast, and oh my god, they were delicious.
They take like 2 seconds in the pan.
Listen, crepes are better than pancakes. I'll go to my grave saying that because when I eat a plate of pancakes, I want to go lay down for like the rest of the day. Crepes, I don't feel that way. I don't feel shame.
It's like a tiny French pancake. Just say
it is.
It goes crepes, waffles, pancakes.
All right, so my second cookie, another one you guys may not know. Maybe you might, because I think it is kind of like a dish that like it was influenced from Spain too, so maybe it kind of found its way to Puerto Rico. But Pinyol Cookies, and so they are an almond paste-based cookie, very, very soft, incredibly soft, with pine nuts completely covering the top. And you can find them in most Italian bakeries. Fantastic. Nothing says Christmas like that to me.
I gotta try all these cookies.
Seriously,
I can't eat them anymore because my diverticulitis, but I make them every year and they're fantastic.
It's crazy how different like our cookie genres are here, but I would not discriminate against your cookies by any stretch of the imagination.
You would like both of the cookies I mentioned.
Well, feel free to trade, my friend, because we will.
I'll bring some in.
And then for my last one, I just went with a good old American favorite, man. Chocolate chip cookie.
I was gonna guess that. I was gonna say.
I mean,
you were probably saying, "What's the whitest cookie?" And that's
what can be the best one to lead off with. What you just said is what I was thinking.
I mean, it's got to be chocolate chip. Nothing screams Christmas. You leave them out for Santa, right? You're not going to leave out pizzoles for Santa traditionally.
I mean, if Santa was Italian, maybe.
Chocolate chip cookies. For me, it's it's honestly the tradition of it. So it's the kids wanting to do it, So it's wanting to get in the kitchen and bake with them,
and
cookies.
then you wanting to eat them afterwards.
Well, yeah, and then sending them to bed before they finish them all. That way, I have some left over for later.
Do your kids watch or listen to the podcast at all?
No, my daughter. My daughter occasionally, but like I'll censor like what parts she watches.
I ask because I'll whisper just in case. Do they know Santa Claus? Have you?
No.
Okay.
They are all firm believers.
I'm a big believer too. Like I think you got to keep that alive.
I will keep it alive as long as possible. I think my oldest is probably placating to us.
How old is she?
10.
Oh yeah. She probably is, but she's smart enough to know there's more gifts.
You know how I found out that it wasn't? I'm the oldest of 3, so I kind of tried to keep it alive. And what my dad would do, he used to. My dad's Puerto Rican. He's a little bit darker skinned than I am, but he would put on like a Santa beard and a hat and a pillow, and he would literally run around my house in the suburbs in Florida, and my mom would be like, look, it's Santa, and he would like run around, and then one time I'm pretty sure like I saw like, because he has black hair, I think I saw, I'm like, wait a second, something's not adding up.
Yeah, the jig's up.
So it's funny, we have a similar story. So my dad, when we were little, I have a lot of cousins, right? So when we were little, my dad had this beautiful Santa suit, like, I mean, actual, like the velour or velvet, whatever it is, beard, everything. But he had a fake tooth that had a tiny little bit of like gold at the bottom. And it wasn't until like a few years into this, like he would leave for work and he would come back as, dressed up, and God, I pray my daughter doesn't watch this episode.
That's what I was making sure.
He would come back dressed up, he'd knock on the door, he'd have a present for every single one of the kids that were there, right? So us, my cousins, everybody. We would all take turns going to tell him what we wanted. And it wasn't until one year, my one cousin had said, Santa's got a tooth just like Uncle Mark. And in the video, there's a home video. You can see my dad says, somebody take this kid, and quick passes him off to my aunt. Hysterical.
So my best Christmas story about my dad, this is actually very funny, because my dad, he liked to drink a little bit. He's Italian. I mean, you would think that. And thankfully, it had been like blizzard conditions up in Cleveland, so there was quite a lot of snow in the front yard, thank God. But for some reason, him and my uncle Roberto would get on the roof and act like it was the reindeer.
Oh, okay.
Landing on the roof, and then
God.
I already know where this is going.
Yeah, it was great. So we're sitting up front, we're listening. My mom's like, "Oh my gosh, the reindeers!" And all of a sudden we see my dad tumble into a snowbank. Thank God the snow was there, because he fell straight off that roof.
God damn it! That's not reindeers.
Yeah, Santa was cursing that night quite a bit, but. Anyways, okay, so are we on?
Yeah, that's
you.
Yeah. So we haven't made it in a while, and Mom, if you're listening, like you have been, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Make flan. It's great. It's amazing. We're not really connected to our Spanish roots for the most part when it comes to Christmas, but make the flan this year, please. It's
Christmas
so good.
Flan. Yeah, that is great. I think that was one of Phil's favorites for the Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, my number 3, and I'll fight anybody who doesn't agree with this, but eggnog. Eggnog is just a fantastic treat. It only you can only get it during Christmas.
I'm on the side of eggnog. I'm on that side. Yeah.
And let me tell you what it's really good in. You brew a really strong cup of black coffee and dilute it with some eggnog. It is fantastic.
I haven't
tried that.
Yeah,
I will try that.
You can do that. You can spike it. I know that you're a big spiker, so
the hell does that mean? Why you look at me?
Now you really don't want your daughter to be in this.
but no, I think it's a perfect vehicle for Christmas cheer.
Yeah, and nothing. Honestly, nothing. I don't think there's a morsel of anything that you can put in your mouth that doesn't scream Christmas more than eggnog. I mean, you don't think of any other time.
Yeah, you don't really know what it is.
Immediately you think Christmas.
Yeah, so
you don't think 4th of July. You don't think
I hope
anything.
you're not drinking eggnog on 4th of July.
And that's
It'd be a bad choice.
That's our 'tis the season. This is it's going to be sad when this is over,
Yeah.
So.
Seriously, we're gonna have to go into something else, man. To follow that up. How do you follow that up? That's fantastic. That's a great drop and everything.
I think Imposters is nowhere near as good of a...
I did see a tweet that I'll say real quick. Usually you see the new year, new me, it's been a great year. I have not seen one person say it's a new year, new me. Everyone's scared. Everyone is you saw 2020, then you saw 2021. No one's ready.
I mean,
absolutely not.
I think the Omicron is kind of got people a little bit scared, although it doesn't seem like it's really impacted us too much yet.
Scared the stock market for sure.
Oh, I don't want to even think about that.
Well,
when they dropped like 900 points in a day after they mentioned the first case.
I don't want to even talk about
we're not licensed,
we're not licensed
investors or don't listen to us.
All right, so let's talk about our last
Sell high on Pfizer.
Yeah, we're going to do our pick section, and last week we had two winners, clear winners. It was Zach and myself. We were both 3-1, and then we had, as usual, Mark and Phil picking up the rear.
I'm going to contest the 1-3-1. All right, halfway through the week we had a little switcheroony. All right, there, buddy.
But he's allowed.
I wasn't told that. Okay, it cancels out because my lock was Tim Boyle and he's not playing, and then I had Daniel Jones, and then Mike Glennon goes in. So I'll take.
All right, we'll allow it.
Yeah, so for the season, I'm still in first where I belong, and Mark, I think you are pulling up the rear.
I am not.
You've
Zach has only got 4 wins.
Hey, they're 4 quality wins. Okay?
Zach is 4-4.
Let's get the playoff committee in here.
But you allowed Phil to overtake you.
Yes. Man, I know. Well, Phil, Phil's been putting in some work. He's been doing pretty good. He had that 4-0 week last week. I mean, it only took him how many more weeks before following mine? I think I did it all the way back in week 5. It took him up to week 12 to finally get 4 out of 4 right.
Well, he's probably going to put in his picks next Sunday after the games.
Yeah, I don't think he has not gotten back to me, as a matter of fact, with the picks here.
Well, let's do.
We're gonna make him TikTok those picks.
Let's do our picks, and we'll mention our lock. I did not get my lock, but I think the other 3 of you guys did get your lock.
Yes, we did all nail our locks, and mine. I took the 10.5 point favorites in Tampa Bay, and anytime you give up that kind of points, you're sweating a little bit. But Tampa Bay did not fail me.
All right, so what's your? Why don't you give us your 4?
Okay,
and then we'll go down the line.
Do we want to do locks first, since we were just talking about it? Or
sure.
So kind of with points, and I'd like to maybe disclaim a little bit for future Zach when he listens back on this episode. We're not confident about any of these picks.
No, it's a sucky week.
I'm 4-4. I'm 500 right now. I might very well just dip in the wrong direction and lose all these, but. Packers minus 12.5. I am taking points. I'm going to swallow them kind of with the Tampa Bay thing. It's a divisional game. I'm not high on the Bears. I think the Packers can do it. They're the best, arguably, team in the league.
Son of a bitch.
I know. I had to do it. I had
make
to.
him cry.
I know. But hey, like I said, I'm not confident in it. But it's still my lock of the week.
All right.
Sad part is I almost took the Pack with the points.
There it is.
Oh, Chicago. You just cannot get behind them.
Okay,
right, so that's your lock, you said, right?
Yep. What are your other games?
We're going to go out. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to take an underdog here. I'm going to take 49ers +1. They play the Bengals. That'll be a great game. They could go either way, but kind of more confident in the 49ers' identity. I think that if it comes down to it, they can get the points that they need. Yeah. That's my reasoning there. I'm taking Arizona minus 3.5 against the Rams because the Rams honestly are a wild card team right now, and I've been a little suspect. And the Cardinals are another top team, and I think they can get it done, especially with the health from the bye week that they had just had. And then I'm taking another favorite. I'm taking Tampa Bay minus 3.5. I just think, and I don't know. I just think against the Bills, I mean, the Bills haven't really shown enough for me to want to put money on them. The Tampa is going to be, I mean, is a Super Bowl favorite, right? Aren't the Patriots and the Bucks like 10% chance of getting to the Super Bowl, and that's like the best chance? So yeah, Tampa Bay.
Nice. And I think Arizona got even healthier after the bye week too. I think Chase Edmonds comes back and rejoins the team as well.
Mark, you want to go with yours or you want me to go mine?
It don't matter. I can go if you want. All right. So I took only one favorite in my 4. I like the dogs this week, man. The dogs are looking good.
Who's your
favorite
your lock?
We'll start with the lock. All right. So my lock is Baltimore plus 2.5 against Cleveland. I just think that Lamar has got to stop the bleeding as far as him not being the person to lead them into the championship game again this year. I think he's got to get his shit together. He's got to get it together quickly. I think Cleveland might be the right team to kind of do that. The divisional rivalry. Cleveland's gotten some suspect quarterback play. I do like Cleveland's defense still, but I don't know. I like Baltimore with the points there.
Yeah, that was an honorable mention for me. That was almost my lock.
Yeah. The only favorite that I took was Seattle minus 7.5 against the Texans. I think Seattle kind of did rekindle a little bit. They're not out of the hunt by any stretch of the imagination.
Crazy.
They could get back into it here if they have truly found their identity. That offense clicked a little bit last week, so I do like them over Houston minus 7.5. I went a little off the grid here and kind of surprised myself with this next pick, and I took the Jets plus 5.5 against New Orleans.
I thought about it.
I like this. I think New Orleans is trending in the wrong direction. If Kamara misses another week, which they're saying that he may, this offense has zero identity. They're bringing back a quarterback that they sat in favor of a tight end that can play quarterback, and now he's back at the helm. I don't like what's going on in New Orleans, and I think the Jets, man,
they've shown some progress.
Yeah, and they're a young team, right? So they need some confidence. I say go get this win, Jets, and build some confidence going forward in the next season. And then the last game that I like, I'm going to take another team that's trending up, man. Washington on this 4-game winning streak, +4 against Dallas. I like it.
I'll root for that too because I need it to even out somewhere in that division.
Well, I hate Dallas, but okay. So my lock is going to be opposite of your lock. I'm actually choosing the Browns here, -2.5, and here's what I'm going for.
Here's another lock that you don't hit.
That may be possible, but it's a close game. Last time they played, less than 2 weeks ago, but this time it's in Cleveland. They've promised to work in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb a whole lot more together on the field, which I think is going to be the secret sauce because Kareem can catch out of the backfield better than almost any other running back up there for sure. I think they've got another week of getting healthy. Baker will be the healthiest he's been in the last 6 weeks.
He's got a new bionic arm and leg, and
he can't be worse.
And brain.
Donovan Peoples-Jones is another week away from his groin injury, and I hope that Stefanski, who I do think is a good coach, will instill some kind of new offense. So I'm going to go with that as a lock. The Browns have to win if they want any chance at the playoffs. So that is, to me, the biggest reason why I'm giving it a lock. This is it. Either it's it or they're done. So we'll see how much fight they've got.
It was a good 6 minutes of cuttable footage. Thank you for that.
Next, I'm going to take the Raiders +7, +9.5 actually against the Chiefs. I do think the Chiefs win, but I don't think they win by that much.
Yeah, I almost took the Raiders as well.
I took the Seahawks again, and I think they're giving 7.5 points. I think that with Houston having Tyrod that's hurt, I think Davis Mills, if he plays, is an interception machine right now. Yeah. And there's just not a lot going good in Houston right this second, so I feel okay about the Seahawks. And then my last game, and I had a couple that I crossed out. I looked at New Orleans, the Jets. I looked at the Chargers, but I went with Tampa Bay giving 3.5 points. Yeah. And that's those are my picks. Yeah. So
nice.
You know what just dawned on me? Do they shut down Kamara? Or do the Saints really want to play him?
And I was actually thinking that earlier today, and I meant to look it up to see if they did, because to me it makes sense to just shut him down. I mean, you're trending in the wrong direction. You have nothing going for you. You have no quarterback play. You don't have any real dependable wide receivers. Your defense, like we've said, is aging. If I'm Peyton, I shut them down.
What a food for thought.
I mean, 5-7 though, they're still in the playoff hunt.
They are technically, but are you going to make any noise in the playoffs?
Yeah. No. So, well, I think that's our show tonight.
Yeah.
And we welcome Zach again. We like having him around. We're happy to have Antone, and we were happy to not have Phil. So
yeah, thank you guys again for tuning in. I mean, you've gotten it for us, guys. We're there. We have the subscribers. We have the watched hours. Again, find us on YouTube, Ultimate Fantasy Locker Room. On YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We'll be in your ear, man. We're willing to give you some advice. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook, man. Just search us out.
Our ladies want a nice present for Christmas, so help us to monetize.